All right, everyone get ready, because today we are taking a deep dive into the world of bad first dates.
Oh, yeah, the worst ones.
It's going to be fun. We're going to be looking at some of the craziest, most cringe-worthy dates out there.
I think anyone who has ever dated has a few stories.
Oh yeah, everyone has at least one bad one, and that's what makes this so great to talk about.
Exactly.
We've got a bunch of stories from Reddit this time,
Oh,
from the Gay
nice.
Bros and Ask Gay Bros forums.
That's always good for a laugh and a little bit of cringe.
So we're going to explore these hilarious, awkward, and sometimes downright wild first date experiences.
Sounds fun.
Let's jump right in, okay? The first one is from a user named Tattoo Love, and this one is a doozy. So picture this.
Okay.
Seemingly normal date. Everything's going pretty smoothly.
Uh-huh.
And then the guy just drops a bombshell. He's like, do you know who I have a lot of respect for? Hitler.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, right.
You never know what people are going to say.
Tattoo Love thought maybe he was joking, trying to be dark or ironic.
Right.
But no, he was dead serious.
Oh, no.
He started praising Hitler's leadership, downplaying the Holocaust, and just all this hateful rhetoric.
Yeah, that's a hard line to come back from. How do you even respond to that?
Right? It's like a total nightmare scenario. You're on a date with someone, and they just start praising Hitler.
Yeah. And, the thing is, you never really know who you're meeting for the first time.
Exactly. And it's a good reminder that even in seemingly safe spaces like a first date, you can encounter views that are really incompatible with your own values.
I think in that situation, you just got to prioritize your safety and well-being and get out of there.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to cut your losses.
Yeah.
All right, next story. This one is a little less intense, but equally unsettling.
Okay.
This is from user appm588. And this guy went on a first date, lunch date to be exact.
Uh-huh.
And the guy drops the line bomb.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I love you after one lunch date.
That's moving a little too fast, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, come on, one lunch and you're already in love. That's a red flag, for sure.
Right, and when appm588 tried to explain that it was too early for that kind of declaration, the guy threatened to self-harm.
Seriously.
Yeah, talk about emotional manipulation.
Yeah, that's not healthy at all.
So this story is a good reminder about setting boundaries early on in dating.
For sure.
You have the right to determine your own pace, and anyone who tries to pressure you or manipulate you is not respecting those boundaries.
You have to feel comfortable and safe in a dating situation.
Exactly. All right, next story involves a cat, a couch, and a date that went downhill fast.
Oh, this is the animal one.
You know how they say you can judge a person by how they treat animals?
Uh-huh.
Well, this story definitely supports that theory.
Let's hear it.
This user, Jacob83, he's on a third date with this guy.
Okay.
The date is at his place, and his cat is lounging on the couch, just chilling.
Yeah.
And for no apparent reason, the guy just launches the cat off the couch.
What?
Like full-on toss.
That's terrible. I mean, poor cat.
Right, it's not just about the cat. It's about disrespect for boundaries and personal space.
Totally. I mean, if someone is willing to do that to an animal, who knows what they'll do to a person?
And it makes you think about how someone treats others in general, not just their dates, but like waiters, cashiers, service workers.
You can learn a lot about a person by observing how they interact with the people around them.
Okay, ready for a story that's more on the awkward and cringeworthy side?
Always.
This one comes from a deleted user, so we don't know who they are, but their story lives on in infamy.
Oh, I love those anonymous ones.
So this user went on an excruciatingly awkward bookstore date.
A bookstore?
Yeah, no, not exactly the most romantic setting.
Not the first place that comes to mind for a date.
Right, but it gets worse.
Okay, how much worse could it be?
So the guy shows up late,
Okay, not a great start.
and then he can barely string a sentence together.
Oh, no.
And then get this, they decide to see a movie after the bookstore.
Okay.
And the guy talks through the entire movie.
What, like the whole time?
Non-stop commentary, ruining every plot twist.
Oh my God, some people have no awareness.
I know, right? It's like, dude, be quiet and let us enjoy the movie.
You'd think it would be common sense, but I guess not.
And this is where I think we can all relate. We've all been on those dates where we just wished we had a mute button.
100%.
But how do you even handle those situations, those moments where you just want to disappear?
Honestly, I think it's best to just be direct and say something like, hey, I'm really trying to enjoy the movie. Do you mind if we just watch for a bit?
Yeah, sometimes honesty is the best policy.
Definitely.
All right, let's talk about money.
Yes, the always awkward topic of money.
This user, Klondike Bar, he shared his story of a date who was surprisingly cheap, despite being rich.
Oh, I hate that I'm rich, but I'm going to make you pay type.
This guy took Klondike Bar to a fancy restaurant,
Uh-huh.
ordered a ton of expensive food and wine,
Okay.
and then when the $180 bill came, he suggested they split it.
Seriously.
Yeah, Klondike Bar had only ordered like $30 worth of food.
Oh, no. That's just rude.
He was pretty stunned by the request.
I would be too. I mean, what's the point of taking someone to a fancy restaurant if you're going to nickel and dime them?
Right.
I think open communication is key when it comes to finances and dating.
Yeah, if you have different expectations about money, you should definitely discuss it beforehand.
Absolutely.
Okay, are you ready for a story that's just plain weird?
Hit me with it. I live for the weird ones.
All right, this one comes from user Elin, and it's filled with so many strange moments, I don't even know where to begin.
Oh, boy, this is going to be good.
So Elin is meeting his date at a cafe, and as they're walking towards each other, the guy starts jazz-handing across the street.
What?
Jazz-handing, like full-on musical theater style.
Oh, no, I can't even imagine.
And the weirdness just escalates from there.
How is that even possible?
Out of nowhere, he starts talking about STDs.
What?
Then he monopolizes the conversation with the cashier for like 30 minutes.
This guy is all over the place.
And to top it off, Elin ends up paying for the coffee, even though they agreed to split it.
Oh, come on.
They even went to see a movie, but the guy was basically gyrating against him and talking nonstop throughout the film.
That's so uncomfortable.
Finally, at the end of the night, when Elin goes in for a hug, the guy just sticks out his hand for a handshake.
Ouch, rejection on top of weirdness. This is rough.
I know. Speaking of wanting to swear off dating forever,
Oh, there's more.
this next story might make you want to stay home for good.
Okay, let's hear it.
This comes from Uger the Thirst, who went on a date that started at a Fridays. You can't get more classic than that, right?
Nope, Friday's good old American food.
But then things take a dark turn. The guy starts bragging about his wealth, showing off his credit cards, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, no, here we go. The look at how much money I have routine.
And then he reveals his car, a windowless van.
That's not creepy at all.
And right there in the Fridays parking lot, he propositions the thirst, making it clear that he expects something in return for the expensive dinner.
Yikes, that escalated quickly.
Luckily, the thirst had driven separately and was able to make a quick escape.
That's a close one.
It's a good reminder to always trust your gut instinct.
Yeah.
If something feels off, it probably is.
And never be afraid to prioritize your safety.
Right, you ready for one more before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive?
Yeah, bring it on. I can't get enough of these crazy dating stories.
Okay, this one comes from user Sing the Doom Song, who had a date with a guy who claimed to be a wizard.
A wizard? Did he apparate to the date?
They were walking around a shopping area, and the guy just casually drops this line, "So I'm a wizard."
Oh my God.
At first, Sing the Doom Song thought he was joking or maybe into Wicca or something.
Yeah.
But no, this guy was serious.
Seriously a wizard.
He starts describing how he can see the future control minds and that he was drawn to the area because of some negative spiritual energy he needed to cleanse.
I wonder what kind of spell he used to find a date.
Right, it's definitely an unconventional way to approach a first date.
That's one way to put it.
And it gets even weirder as they're driving to the guy's apartment. Sing the Doom Song realizes it's the same building where a friend of his used to live, a friend who suddenly stopped communicating with him.
Spooky.
Yeah, right? It's one of those stories that leaves you with more questions than answers.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from Nazi sympathizers to I love you bombers to cat launching, movie narrating, dine and dashing wizards. It's a lot to take in.
It's enough to make you wonder if finding a decent date is even possible.
It's out there somewhere. You just got to weed through the crazies.
Well, there's more where that came from. We've got a whole second part of this deep dive packed with even more wild and wacky dating disaster.
I can't wait. I'm already cringing in anticipation.
So stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to our deep dive into disastrous first dates. We're picking up right where we left off with even more cringeworthy stories.
I'm ready. Are you?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so this next one comes from user Interferon Guy on the Gay Bros subreddit, and it's for all the science nerds out there.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
So Interferon Guy, as you might guess, was in the immunology program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Makes sense.
He goes on this date with this seemingly normal guy, good old boy type, and they're at this trendy bar, and everything seems fine at first, but then...
But then the date starts grilling him about immunology.
Exactly. It starts with vaccines, which could be a bit of a touchy subject.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, for sure.
But Interferon Guy's passionate about this stuff, so he's happy to talk about it.
Right.
But it quickly becomes clear that the date isn't actually interested in learning anything.
Oh, no.
He's got his own ideas about science, and they don't exactly align with reality.
Oh, boy.
And then the date just drops this bomb. He doesn't believe in cells.
What?
He actually says our bodies are held together by energy, not biology, not science, just pure mystical energy.
Wow, okay, that's a new one.
Interferon Guy, being the scientist that he is, tries to explain, the basics of cell biology.
Right.
But it's like talking to a brick wall. The date is totally entrenched in his beliefs.
Some people just can't be reasoned with.
So Interferon Guy just downs his drink and makes a swift exit.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, sometimes the emotional and intellectual cost of a date is just too high.
Totally. You gotta know when to cut your losses.
Speaking of high costs, let's talk about the dine and dash dilemma.
Oh yeah, this is a classic bad date move.
Multiple users shared their stories of having their dates disappear when the check arrives.
It's so rude and inconsiderate.
This user, X Moen's X, he had a particularly bad experience. He offered to buy the guy a drink, and the guy said he'd go feed the meter while X Moen's X ordered. 20 minutes go by nothing. He texts the guy blocked.
Oh no, that's awful.
He ends up drinking both drinks before finally giving up and leaving.
I would have done the same thing.
He also shared stories of being ghosted, insulted for his age, and even having a date who spent hours chatting and laughing with him, only to disappear when the check came.
Ugh, it's like they're not even trying to hide it anymore.
It's a pattern of behavior that's unfortunately all too common.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if these people are even looking for a genuine connection or just using dating apps for free meals.
Okay, ready for a story that involves bad manners and a truly satisfying moment of standing up for oneself.
Oh, I love a good comeback story.
This is from Rude Imagination 1041 on the Ask Gay Bros subreddit. He'd been chatting with this guy for a couple weeks. Everything seemed fine. They planned a date, agreed on a time and place.
Okay.
He goes to pick the guy up at 6 p.m., knocks on the door, and the guy is still in his underwear.
What? Seriously?
Not even dressed, let alone ready to go.
Not a great first impression.
And then the guy proceeds to take a 40-minute shower and get dressed, while Rude Imagination 1041 is just sitting there awkwardly on the couch.
Oh my god, that's so rude.
And to top it off, when he finally emerges, he's wearing a ratty t-shirt, shorts, and old sneakers.
This guy's really trying to make a bad impression.
Rude Imagination 1041 had dressed up for the occasion, so he's understandably annoyed.
I would be too.
They go to the restaurant, and it turns out the date hadn't even bothered to check the menu beforehand.
Oh, that's annoying.
He starts dictating what Rude Imagination 1041 should order, complains about the prices, and then refuses to let him get dessert.
This guy's a nightmare.
Rude Imagination 1041, who's usually shy and non-confrontational, finally has enough.
Good for him.
The date is about to walk out of the restaurant without waiting for the check, and Rude Imagination 1041 stops him dead in his tracks.
Yes, about time someone calls him out.
He calls out the guy's rudeness, his inattentiveness, the last-minute change of plans, even his sloppy attire.
Get him.
And then he demands that they split the bill, including the $30 glass of wine the date had ordered.
He deserves to pay for that wine after all that.
The date is speechless. He pays his portion of the bill, even argues over the $3 change.
Seriously.
They walk out in silence, and as they part ways, the date says bye, and Rude Imagination 1041 just says, "Fuck off, mate."
Mic drop.
He blocked the guy on the app and never looked back.
Good for him. He stood up for himself.
Exactly. Sometimes you just got to put your foot down. Speaking of putting your foot down, let's talk about a story that's a little more awkward, but also kind of sweet.
Okay.
This one comes from user Elon Hart Shaley. He matched with this guy online, who seemed great, described himself as a comic book and video game geek.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
They hit it off, had some flirty conversations, but when they finally met in person for their video gaming date, things weren't quite what Elon Hart Shaley expected.
Oh no, what happened?
The guy was who he said he was, but his whole life seemed to revolve around his geekdom.
Okay.
His room was a shrine to comics figurines and every imaginable fandom.
I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right, but it was a bit much. And his mom was, well, very present.
The overprotective mom, a classic dating obstacle.
They played video games, interrupted by the mom bringing snacks and asking if they were okay. It was more like a play date than a date.
That's a little awkward.
Elon Hart Shaley realized that while the guy was sweet, he just wasn't feeling it.
Sometimes there's just no spark.
He tried to be polite and non-committal during the date, but eventually sent the guy an email letting him down gently.
That's nice of him.
He admitted that he just wasn't feeling a romantic connection.
Honesty is always the best policy in these situations.
Okay, before we wrap up this second part of our deep dive, I have to share one more story.
There's more, bring it on.
This one is from user Omnicronos on the Ask Gay Bros forum, and trust me, it's a wild ride.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
It's a reminder that things can go from 0 to 100 real fast in the dating world, and that safety should always be your top priority.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into dating disasters.
I'm ready for more.
You better be, because this last story is a wild one.
Okay, bring it on.
So this one comes from user Omnicronos, and let me tell you, things get pretty intense.
Oh no.
So Omnicronos meets this guy at a park one night.
Okay.
They hook up, casual encounter, and then a little while later they meet up again. Things get a bit more intimate. Omnicronos ends up taking the guy's virginity.
Okay, so things are progressive.
They decide to go on an actual date, dinner and a movie.
Right.
Everything seems to be going well.
Okay.
Until they get back to Omnicronos' place, and things take a dark turn.
What happened?
The guy asks to be tied up.
Oh, no.
Omnicronos agrees even though it's not really his thing,
I have a bad feeling about this.
and then the guy pulls out a gun.
What are you serious?
Yeah, the guy claims it's a robbery, tells Omnicronos he's too trusting,
Oh my
and
god.
proceeds to rob him of everything he has.
That is terrifying.
I know, right? It's a reminder that dating can be dangerous.
Yeah, you never really know who you're meeting.
You have to be careful.
Absolutely.
So after hearing all these crazy dating stories, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I think it's important to remember that dating can be fun, but you also have to be cautious.
Right.
Always trust your gut set boundaries, and don't be afraid to walk away if something feels off.
Great advice. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was fun as always.
And to all you listeners out there, stay safe out there in the dating world. And remember, sometimes the best stories come from the worst dates. Say CE2.